Milton Ali.
Hampton Skurlock.
You don't really have what it takes to be a real estate investor. This is the Investor Tribe.
This the vibe, y'all. Investor Tribe, y'all. Investor Tribe, y'all. Investor Tribe, y'all. Let's go.
I love the new set, man.
This is very nice.
And you know what? Thanks, Drew, for looking out for us on the new set. But you know what that also means? That also means that we got a new set. We also have, it's a new year. It's a new podcast.
There'll be new sponsors. We love the old sponsors. We love all the future sponsors. But there's more sponsors coming. More content coming.
More content. And we're going to be doing way more education. The goal, when you leave our podcast every week, you're going to leave better than we found you. Right?
And I've got a couple hidden tips, tricks, tools. One that can make you a bunch of money and find you a bunch of off-market deals over the course of your real estate career.
So, and we both got some surprises lined up.
Yep.
You have $1 million challenge coming up.
Yes.
And
you've got a special video
That's
that
true.
I've seen.
Yeah, that's true. That we want to show to you guys as well. I think is going to be phenomenal. We're going to have a blast this year and beyond with the Investor Tribe podcast. I think we're going to have more people being able to join the Investor Tribe, right? So subscribe to the Investor Tribe, however you found us, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, no matter how you found us, subscribe and join us and partner with us on this journey. And how about I just introduce myself? I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Skurlock.
And we want to welcome you to the Investor Tribe podcast. Did you know that the average home buyer right now is 58?
I did not know that.
The average home buyer is 58 years old. The average first-time home buyer is 38.
Really, I would have guessed younger than that, but I guess times they are a-changing from what I've been told.
They are changing. And so just to kind of bring this in perspective, the profile of the buyer is changing. There's a couple of things that are happening now that we are navigating, okay? One of the things that's happening is that families are having less kids, right? So that was some of the things that we missed with Alyssa Withrow a little bit. Families are having less kids. However, more families have more fur babies. And they now call themselves dog moms, cat moms. There is way more. So when you think of a 2.5 family, like every family, average family size is about 2.5, 3.5. That's including the pets.
Okay.
That's including the pets. I know several houses. I've sold houses where the pets have a room.
And I think from what I read too, I think we talked about this the other day. I thought people, moved every 3 to 5 years. Now you're saying it's less.
No, I'm saying it's more.
It's more.
So now people move. It used to be every 7 to 10 years. Now people are moving every 8 to 12.
8 to 12. Okay.
So the tenure is So the tenure is a little bit longer, right? So what does that mean for an investor? So you're an investor. You're part of the Investor Tribe, and you're watching. And what does that mean for you, the investor? Well, what does that mean? What that basically means is you have to find deals where you can. So the deals that you can find that are either on the market, you can find a deal that is through another investor, or you can find a referral deal, or you can find a deal that is off of the market.
Off the market deals, those are some of my favorite. I know you're a realtor, and realtors gotta make money, and they
Right.
they can make the world go round.
I love all market deals. If you can,
yeah. Bless all you realtors out there. I got family members that are realtors. I'm a recovering realtor myself.
Okay.
But But yeah, the off-market deals, investors salivate, when we hear those or see those, because sometimes you're able to get a pretty good discount. You're not competing against everybody and their mother for getting the property in a contract. And kind of probably a good place to start is what is an on-market deal, what is an off-market deal.
Right.
Because if a property's for sale, somebody may argue, oh, it's on market if it's for sale. We're referring to if it's on the MLS, if it's on the multiple listing service,
Correct.
with a realtor, then it's an on-market deal. Everybody's seeing
There's benefits to that. So let's kind of, I know we're talking about off-market deals. There's just benefits to on-market deals. One of the benefits is on-market deals is that you can actually take the time to actually do your due diligence and have an inspection period, right? You have the opportunity and to go through the entire process, and you get time to actually vet the deal, look at the property, see what's going on with it. And all real estate agents have background checks, and they are also licensed individuals where we have our code of ethics. So we're able to have discussions about property that is in the best interest of all parties involved.
And as an investor, one of the things I liked about on-market deals, I just got one last week, I didn't have to track down an owner. I didn't have to try to see if they want to sell. I just look on the MLS and I see it. On-market deals, they're out there. You can find them. But the off-market deals, those are ones that are not on the MLS.
That's correct.
So sometimes you got to roll up the sleeves and get your hands dirty. You got to track down the owners, or you got to get a referral, and you got to find something that's not on the market. And sometimes people are wanting to sell, and then they're not, and then they want to sell again, and they're unsure of the price, and they don't know how long it's going to take to clean up stuff. Maybe it's an inherited house. There's so many things you can run to with the off-market houses, because it's a mixed bag. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what shape it's going to be.
And to your point, Hampton, what I want to talk about is, let's talk about some types of off-market deals that you can run into. And so when we were kind of talking this through earlier or late last week or whenever we were talking about there's a lot of different ways to look at the main off-market deal that you can find as an investor today.
Yep.
Right? It's real simple, and they're distressed sellers. What does distressed seller mean?
Well, I jokingly, I said to you, it's the big D, and I'm your guy when it comes to talking about that stuff. So the distressed sellers, a lot of times they've got something going on in their life. They don't want to sell. They may need to sell, and ironically enough, a lot of those issues that cause the distress also begin with D.
Right.
And, they may have been detained, put in jail. There may be drugs. There may be disease, dementia, deferred maintenance, defaulted on the mortgage. They may have been downsized, divorce. There could have been a death in the family. There's so many things that, and I feel like I'm forgetting a few, but those are just a lot of the D words that lead to, a distressed seller. And so I try to tell, as I'm networking out there and letting friends, family, anybody I know, hey, we buy houses, we buy ugly houses. Do you know anybody that needs to sell? And when they say, no, I really don't, or I'm going to call Milton. I need to call Milton when I need to. Yeah, they need to call Milton when they need to sell. But if they really have an issue and they need a problem solved, we'll buy the ugly houses. We'll buy them full of stuff, and I'll try to jog people's memory and say, hey, do you know anybody that's had a death in the family? They've been downsized. The house is falling apart. It's got a bunch of deferred maintenance. They've defaulted on the mortgage. They're getting ready to get foreclosed on next week, and they want to save the house. Maybe it'll help those people. So just knowing where to look and how to approach those people and walk them through, the process and solve their problem. Because if you can solve their problem, you can help them through this transaction and possibly land a good off-market deal, for yourself as an investor. So.
And what's really interesting about how to even approach that is to be able to have respect and empathy. When you think about having the respect and the empathy needed, because let's just be real, some distressed sellers don't even know they're distressed.
Yep.
They don't even know that they're distressed. It's obvious when someone is an absentee owner. That was one of the myths, right? There's one, it's easy when when sometimes it's a divorce, but sometimes it's it's like, hey, I want to hold on to this house, right? I want to hold on to this house. And sometimes it's death, it's decline, sometimes it is drugs, and sometimes it's, I still think I can hold on to this house even though I haven't made a payment in 7 months, right? Yeah. Sometimes I can hold on to this house that it is, and right now in this country, it is a challenge to navigate. I know two of both my mom and mother-in-law, it's like they have steps in their home, and we are very concerned. So the goal is to get my mother-in-law into a home with less steps, just a ranch, so that she can be safe, right? And so sometimes that downsizing is as simple as there's a change that needs to occur. And not everyone is excited about selling a home that they've been in for a very long time. So that respect and that empathy is very key as you're dealing with that distressed seller.
It is. And, they want to feel respected. They want to feel appreciated. And they're people, too. They're going through, a stressful situation.
Yeah.
There's people that they've accumulated stuff, or they're aggressive collectors, and you may or may not have a hoarding problem. And helping them, declutter or simplify their life or get rid of some of these things that they can't bring themselves to get rid of. Maybe physically they're not able to. They've got a back problem. We bought a house for a gentleman, and he had serious back problems and couldn't really lift anything. Great couple. They were actually going to move closer to their son, who lived right around the corner, 400 yards away. And they were a great couple. They'd never been on a honeymoon, so we heard their story. They were going to move to a house, to a house that didn't have steps, right almost next door to their son that was down the street. And I thought, gosh, we solve problems. We help people move. We try to eliminate any issues they'll have. And so I've got able-bodied people, and I know people that can help this gentleman move. So we said, hey, we'll buy your house. You're renovating the other house you're moving into. We'll put you up. We had an Airbnb. We gave them basically their honeymoon, and they stayed out at one of our Airbnbs while their new house was getting renovated. They got to go in a hot tub. They got to have some quiet time, husband and wife. And they've been married 50 plus years.
Wow.
He came home. He sends us a thank you card every Thanksgiving, and just talked about how great it was, and thank you for for how well you treated us. So we bought his house. They moved. We helped move all their stuff. We had it on trailers, had a truck over there. It wasn't a far move, and they didn't have a ton of stuff. But it was something that we went above and beyond to help them out, and he still sends us thank you cards. And my wife, she doesn't even know the story. So who's these people that send you thank you cards? And we have a tent that sends us every year. They get us a sweet potato pie, and it's delicious. And my wife's like, "Who's this lady sending you pie? Should I be worried that's keep a secret admirer?"
Right,
and,
right.
Like, well, I was like, she knows some of the tenants, and we got 3. That's from 3 generations of tenants. It's the oldest, the grandmother that sends us the sweet potato pie every
cool.
year.
That's pretty cool.
And
there was this other time where we were at a house, and we ended up, through helping and learning more about this particular situation. It was a brother and sister, and one of them wanted to just go be on a boat, and the other one was a little bit more like, hey, let's figure something out. And it is so cool to be able to work with people that are in situations where we were able to give them some money up front so one of the family members can just go be on a boat. Then we said, hey, we'll pay you over a series of time to purchase this house, and then we'll move forward from there. So that kind of made a lot of sense to be able to do that type of deal for that particular property.
It did, and one of my old buddies, he talked about the good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you need to listen twice as much as you talk. So if you open your ears up and listen, you can see the hints, and you can hear in people's voice what's bothering them. What are their fears or concerns, or how can you solve the problems. So sometimes it's just shut up and listen kind of thing with when you're dealing with sellers, and really listen. and ask questions too. So hey, what would the ideal transaction look like for you? Because some sellers are like, oh, what's this investor going to do? And they're going to come in here, they're going to lowball me, or they're going to talk about how bad my house is, and take a pen and check more for the demerit for this and $5,000 off of that. And some investors do that. It is about the numbers, but if you can sit down and talk with somebody that's going through a hard time, and they talk about their memories of the house and what if we could buy this, what would the ideal situation look like? They may tell you a price, and they may say, well, it's not necessarily about the price. As long as we can pay off the house, I'm okay. Or if I can get help, if I can move things to storage, if I can pay off my debts, if I can do this, do that, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I make that happen? What else would we be concerned with? Who else is involved, and then we all come to an agreement to make this work for everybody.
So what I'm hearing is, can you listen to the story behind the number? Can you hear what's actually going on behind the number? Not everybody is we can't treat everyone with that they're just a deal, that they're just money in my pocket, or this is the other side. So often as we walk into these homes of distressed sellers, we have to figure out how to leave our thoughts and feelings at the door and go in prepared to listen, to go in prepared to hear what's going on in their life, to be prepared to just be prepared to have a mind, heart of empathy towards these other individuals. Because behind all of that is the deal. There really isn't any magic to it. It's not like, oh my gosh, here's the magic formula. However, it's within that.
And sometimes there may not be a deal today. Sometimes I call them boomerang deals. You talk to somebody and you say, hey, now's not the right time, or you need to take care of this first, or you need to, but you're generally wanting to help them. You're giving them referrals. You're putting them in touch with contractors. They've got a tree that's fallen on the roof, but the insurance isn't paying for it. They don't have anybody to take care of it. So maybe you're talking with your lender friend to help them get a second mortgage to pay for this stuff and fix the house so they can live there because they can't afford to go anywhere else.
That's correct.
But then they may call you 3 years later when, they're ready to sell because they remembered you helped them. You put them in touch with a place that fixes RVs or that fixes a roof, or your tree guy that helped them cut that tree down at a real low price than they could get anywhere else. And then they call you back because they remembered you. You were either different or you were memorable and you were helpful, and they want to do business with you because they know, like, and trusted you, and you weren't. It wasn't just a deal. They connect with you personally.
And so I definitely totally agree with everything that you're talking about here, because it is so important to be in tune to the seller. Another way that we can get off market deals is through networking, right? You can come to an investor tribe meetup. Hey, you can go to investor tribe meetup. Hey, not that, but yeah, you can come to the investor tribe meetup, right? And you can learn. You can learn all these things, right? You can come on out. There's other meetups within your local town or your city where you can learn about what's going on, and someone may have another deal. What do you get by networking?
You can get a lot. I mean, you can find partners, you can find lenders, you can find deals if people know what you're buying, and you can also pass deals along that if you know what they're buying, or they're buying in areas, you're buying houses you don't want to really deal with, you call people in your network and pass those deals along, and hopefully they're going to reciprocate and send them back to you.
And that's totally true, because sometimes you may have something that's in your buy box. So can you talk to people about what is a buy box? Because when you're networking, you're talking to someone and they say, hey, Hampton, what is in your buy box? Now, make it real simple for us, because I know your buy box is a lot larger than other people's. However, what is a buy box, and how would you go about articulating a buy box to another investor?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say some of my investor friends have similar. My buy box, as you said, is pretty wide. All kinds of things. So I'll kind of use the buy box of a couple other investors I deal with.
Yeah,
and they like 3-bedroom, one-bath ranches in a particular zip code or particular neighborhood. And they like those houses because they're only one story, they're built like a tank, they're on a slab, so everything's right there. The roofs are cheap to fix, it's the heating and air systems are small, it's just basically a kitchen, living room, and then 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. So they rent for pretty good money. The yards are simple. It's they can do a lot of those deals and systematize that because they know they need this much flooring. The painter's gonna take this long. Their guys don't have to get on a 2-story ladder to do and deal with harnesses and other issues with putting on roofs. And that's what they like. And I understand why they like it. And some neighborhoods maybe too pricey or the cash flow doesn't work for other investors. So like that's not my buy box. So I'll call those guys when I have those things pop up. If I don't want them, I know people that'll buy them. And then they call me for everything else that's not in their neighborhood.
Right.
One guy said I'm his go-to 2 guy. And I go, go-to 2? He goes, yeah, whenever it's too big, too ugly, too small, too much work, too cheap, too far out. He goes, I'll call you. I go, okay, I can be your go-to 2 guy. So my box was everything.
Yeah, your box was so when you're thinking of establishing a buy box, you're looking for an opportunity that is, hey, within a certain set of parameters so that you can actually take action.
Yeah.
Right? So you can take action. So if it's something that's not in your buy box, don't try to make it in your buy box, right? So if your buy box is, to Hampton's point, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, in particular, a couple of zip codes, try not to go outside of that buy box unless you are ready, right? And that goes back to another conversation that we have about being fit and being ready to actually do this, right? Yeah. Now, the other thing is when you're networking, you're building relationships. Because in any town that you're in, you're only as good as your word. You're only literally as good as the integrity that you hold. And this is a small world, and social media is really big. And people will dog you. People will, if you don't take care of other people, they definitely will express themselves on social media, right? Yep. And so it's so important to be able to have that part of it. Another way to get off-market deals is through online prospecting. And online prospecting works in different ways. And so when you think of online prospecting, I think of being able to have websites, being able to use a customer relationship management or a CRM to be able to connect with people, being able to use social media and navigate that to direct traffic towards your site, or having yard signs that direct traffic towards your site that says, hey, to be able to work with different marketing companies like Drew's.
Yeah, bespoke marketing.
Bespoke marketing, right? So to be able to use different tools to be able to prospect online. How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I'm more now a bigger fan of the referral, portion. Because the online prospecting sometimes takes time, takes money. You got to either hire people, or you're buying leads, or you're sending out postcards, or you're paying pay-per-click. Sometimes for and there's benefits there. Some people that's what they focus on. That's what they do. Right. They don't mind spending the money. I like the good free leads with little competition. And so I like the networking side. So I may not be the best person to talk to about the online prospecting, but we'll bring some guests on, and I know several other investors that do the online prospecting a whole lot better than I do.
Right. And so it's a way for you to be able to build your business up. And when you think about online prospecting, it's being able to have that lead flow that comes in, and we can have like some conversations about that, and we'll dive into that next time. So what I want to do right now is thank everyone. We're going to have a part 2 to this podcast. It's coming up. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to dive into more ways to get into some off-market deals.
And I've got a secret tip that I thought I was going to get out there today. I didn't get it out today, so I have to hold it back for part 2.
You do.
It doesn't cost. It's just a great tool to get off-market deals and get people bringing them to you left and right that you can monetize in several ways.
And so, what are some of your questions of what you would like for us to chat about on part 2 of our off-market deals? Because that's coming very, very soon. What would you like to hear? Send us your questions and subscribe to us, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, and just hit us up. Just let us know what are some of your questions. And I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we'll catch you on the flip side of the Investor Tribe.
The Investor Tribe podcast is a production of the Investor Tribe. To learn more, visit invtribe.com.